This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 390.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash. 404 error. Page not found. Links aren't working. System is crashing. System is crashing. System is crashing.
Your old HTML website. Barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website. Better than it was before. Better. Stronger.
Faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events, no WordCamps. However, there is this week, it is this week, the WordPress Growth Summit, the official WordPress Growth Summit. It is going to be August 17th here in Americas and EMEA, and August 18th in Asia Pacific. It is $25. It's a bargain. So if you're looking to do an online seminar of some sort, conference, there you go. The official WordPress Growth Summit is coming up this week. So check that out. That's it for events. Moving on, segment one. In the news, a couple of things to talk about here. Most recently, Newfold Digital acquired Yoast SEO. So Newfold is the rebranded company that was EIG, Endurance International Group. They were bought by, I believe, a private equity, rebranded to Newfold Digital. They acquired Yoast this past week. So congratulations to everyone there. Apparently everyone stays the same, just kind of goes under the new umbrella of Newfold Digital. Also in the news, Automatic invested $30 million in Titan. Titan is a professional email suite aimed at business and companies offering white label email solutions. I believe this this angle is that it may be eventually used over at WordPress.com for email solutions and email providing, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think WordPress.com manages email. I believe that's correct. So this may be coming down the line. I don't know. I'm just kind of paraphrasing or kind of read some stuff out there as well and assuming that is what's going on there. All right. Moving on. Oh, before we get to segment two, the meat and potatoes of this week's show, which is going to be awesome, I want to say a special thanks to our sponsor this week. That's right. This week's sponsor is Marker.io. So what is Marker.io? Well, they are the tool you need to gather feedback from your internal teams or your customers and send it to your developers with amazing ease. Really, if you're any way involved in creating websites, code, SaaS products, this service is for you. Seriously. With features like the ability to have on-screen annotations, you get your point across with visual annotations and high-fidelity screen capture. Custom visibility is also a great feature, one of my favorites, because you can then make your feedback widget visible only to certain people, clients, customers, or to anyone, back end, front end. You can limit it based on the custom visibility settings. If you have a mobile site, which obviously we all do, the Marker.io widget is optimized for responsive websites for all modern browsers, including mobile. So there's that. Do you need integrations? Marker.io has you covered and then some. Send the data you want to capture to your favorite project management tool, including Trello, Asana, ClickUp, or even your issue tracker like Jira, GitHub, and others. Need or want Slack integration, notifications? Done. It's there as well. So reporting bugs should not be rocket science. Get website feedback from clients and colleagues into your favorite bug tracker without driving developers crazy. So when you're ready to level up your feedback game and integrations, check out Marker.io. Also, if you use code ADAMWP, you get 3 months off, 50% of any plan. Thanks again to Marker.io for sponsoring this week's podcast, and check it out. Definitely recommend it. Very, very cool. Talk more about that in a few more weeks. Okay, moving on to segment two, the meat and potatoes. This week's segment is an interview with my friend Courtney Robertson. She's awesome. She's brilliant, and she knows a lot about WordPress. Take a listen, and after that, we'll come back with this week's tip and tool of the week. Today, I'm joined by Courtney Robertson. Courtney is a web design dev advocate at GoDaddy Pro, is on the WP training team as a co-rep, a mom of preschoolers, a former WordPress teacher, and her talents also include playing violin and mandolin. Welcome to the Kitchen Sink WP podcast, Courtney.
Hello, Adam. It is great to be with you today.
It's awesome having you here. We've known each other a bit. And as you may know, you've listened to the show, I think, a few times. I always start interviews by telling my audience how I know the guest, if I do, or how well we know each other. In this case, we've met, if I'm not incorrect here, via the interwebs. I think from the Headway days, which was like a lifetime ago.
It is how we met. Yeah, I remember listening to your show back then and hearing you mention Headway on the show and thinking, Adam, we need you to come join the Headway Slack channel.
Yeah, it was like seriously, like so it must have been. I mean, I was using Headway before the podcast, but then I mean, so the podcast is 7.5 years old now, which is crazy. Also, 10 episodes away from 400. So anyway, yeah, but we've met in person once, if I'm not mistaken. Also,
yes, we were together for WordCamp US. I believe the second year that it happened, and you were standing in line with another friend of yours, Kyle, and I recognized both of you characters through the sound of your voices, actually, more than finding you by face.
Right. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. So for those who don't know you, first question for you. We have a handful of questions here, not too many. We'll kind of see how this goes, as you know. First question is, for those who don't know you, how did you get into WordPress? How did you get here?
Well, it began when I was teaching in a high school classroom. I was teaching HTML and CSS along with a lot of Microsoft Office products. And I needed a way to digitally collect my students' files and also to have a blog to write some things. Given the year that it was, I used Moodle and Joomla and heard about this new thing coming out, WordPress, and remember starting to play with WordPress before there was even a .com version. So this goes back a good ways. I only stuck with the others for a brief period of time. I later moved into maintaining client websites with it and discovered how to properly use WordPress as a learning management system as well. Again, back into teaching WordPress in that environment.
Do you consider yourself a developer? I mean, are you a code person as well?
Both. So teaching the code is more my area. I love the work of coding, but I also really like to empower others in their journey as well. So I started by teaching HTML and CSS, started teaching high school students. I have also taught, though, with corporate clients, and I've worked with adults that were retraining to enter the job force. So pretty much all ages and ranges, and making sure that they've got the skills and tools that they need for what they would like to pursue.
Nice. Okay, so that's interesting. So what about CSS, HTML, so more front end?
At that time, that was it.
Right.
There was, but JavaScript had existed, but it was not as pertinent to maintaining a website as it would be now. And content management systems were relatively new. PHP, the language, was around for a long time, but certainly just to put a basic website together in the year 2004, we didn't really need a lot of that.
Right. What was your first theme? Do you remember what was the first theme you really kind of used?
Kubrick.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah.
It was Kubrick. And I made the mistake before we had things like backups and great ways to maintain clients' websites. I made the mistake of hitting update one time with Kubrick, and the client's former developer had hard-coded HTML into the theme, which means that when you hit update, all of your customizations, if you put them right into the original theme,
right,
all those customizations were gone.
Right.
There were
no child theme at the time. Right.
No page builders, no child themes, no backups.
Right. I remember I was consulting for a client. It was a spinning club in Southern California, and I did not understand child themes. I'm like, I don't use them. I never used them, and apparently this site had them, but it had like multiple copies of a child theme. Anyway, and like, I don't need all these extra themes. It's just clutter. huge rookie mistake. This was early days for me.
Yeah.
And luckily I had a backup of the site, but I deleted the child themes, and the site, all the styling went away, obviously. It was a stressful, sweaty moment. And they're like over my shoulder, in their studio, like they're at the front desk. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah.
I did something similar. I think I forced myself to learn child themes soon after a client had paid me to add a widget to the sidebar where we had to register the sidebar and the widget.
Yeah.
That goes back a bit.
That goes back. Yeah.
I had to learn how to do this. I think it was probably with the Rev 2 theme.
Wow. Yeah.
Revolution 2 theme. That would have been one of the earliest premium themes in WordPress. So I found that well before Thesis and Headway. And you could see my track record where I'm going with my career in WordPress.
And thinking about it, so you said 2004. Yeah, so you've got me beat. And there's not that many people, but at this point, you've been doing WordPress longer than I have. I came into the fold, I think it was 2008, end of 2008, 2009. It was hard to recall exactly. Because I dated Joomla like you did for a bit.
Yeah.
We dated for like 4 weeks. I was doing an intranet for a company in Colorado, and then the company folded. so we never finished the intranet. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be the coolest thing ever. I thought Joomla is awesome. This is great. And then, it went away. And then, I moved to California. Anyway, so, all right, moving on. Second question for you. As a past educator and now a dev advocate in a full-time role and on the training team, what's your day-to-day look like?
Oh, boy. Well, you can find me hanging out at a lot of WordPress-related events. Internally, I handle a lot of it's not really paperwork, but GoDaddy Pro sponsors a lot of WordPress events, and somebody has to handle the contracts and things. Likewise with podcasts and newsletters. If you see GoDaddy Pro's name on it, someone has to handle some of that. I handle some of that for the North America market in particular. We have events that are like a meetup group, but our own thing, happening online. So sometimes I host those. I do a whole lot in the WordPress training team. As a co-rep this morning already, I've had, I think, 2 different meetings with folks around the globe that are contributing to the team. So I get to spend some time on that. And I'm really thankful that GoDaddy Pro gives me that kind of time. It's great to coordinate with others throughout the project. And the goal being to really improve the journey of everybody's experience with learning WordPress at any stage. I also handle things like reviewing upcoming training materials, whether that's through learn.wordpress.org or right now I'm reviewing another developer's course. I can consult internally with some of the teams. Like we have a team, Skyverge, that focuses on WooCommerce related products. So giving them some insights about their training materials. Also, if people have opinions or feedback, anything that is more specific that I could take and say, WordPress people are asking for this. How can we help meet that need? Or here's the complaint that somebody might have. What can I do with that? I am open to taking the feedback in a respectful manner and directing it where it needs to go. Interesting.
So you mentioned the training team a lot. How did that come into your life? I mean, you started 2004. I mean, it didn't exist, all that kind of stuff. All these groups within the project didn't exist, WordPress.tv. I mean, I was part of that team. Actually, I remember I applied to be on that team back in the day. You had to apply kind of thing. And it fell through the cracks for like probably over a year. And then that team was like, we're so sorry. We heard you wanted to help us edit video. I'm like, yeah, and it's too late now. I moved on. Anyway, how did you make that transition? How did you get involved? Because you're a co-lead of it now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it pays amazing, I'm sure. It doesn't pay, I know.
Right. So I contributed to the team. I've only been at my current job for about 2 months. So I contributed to the team as a lot of people do on their own time for almost 8 years, actually. The team began in 2013 during WordCamp US. Well, it would have been WordCamp San Francisco at that point, and was led by Tracy Levesque from Yikes Inc. and Courtney O'Callahan, who is really active in the DC WordPress community and had worked with the Smithsonian during that time. They pioneered the team, and about a year later, I attended WordCamp New York, and there was a contributor day, and it was my first ever contributor day. And I thought, this is interesting. I kind of really want to go to this thing. So I found a friend that lived about an hour outside of the city itself and was able to take the train from their place to get in. Because at that point, financially, couch surfing was the way to do events, especially in New York City.
Right.
So I attended this contributor day, and there were multiple teams tables, and people stood up and explained what it was. And it was before the actual camp. We did it before the camp. And I remember hearing these people in the one corner talking about REST API and how great it's going to be and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, I have no idea what they're saying. Then I heard the marketing team talk about what it is they do. And beside them was a table for the training team. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm torn. I'm a high school business educator. I kind of wear both hats. Like teaching marketing, teaching development, it's all flows together. And so I jumped in with the training team, participated before we had Slack in the IRC chat days. We write lesson plans and training materials that historically what we have done is create these materials that meetup organizers or places that hold workshops could use them to present. So if you have a meetup and you don't know what to teach, go ahead and use our thing. Or if you need to teach your clients how to use WordPress, well, we've got teacher style lesson plans ready to go that anyone can freely use. So we've been at making that material since 2013.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So obviously it's a big part of your life. You like it enough. What irks you about it Like what irks you about learn.wordpress.org right now? Because it's, because like there's no perfect anything, right? There's always frustrations, especially as a volunteer from in one aspect, one angle of it. You're funded, but not by, you know what I mean?
Right. So I love that it is live and that we can publish materials on it. There you will find lesson plans and workshop videos and discussions that go with the workshop videos. The workshop videos range in their time. What I would like to see happen is a more swift change in the user journey through the site. So when you go to the site right now, you see that there are lesson plans and workshops. It's not very visible that once you get into either of those areas, how to navigate within. There are filters to help you search, but it doesn't seem like things flow in a journey of how you would learn the material. And so there is a UX audit that's happening right now. Mm-hmm. I also would like to surface those discussion groups. There are live discussion groups that happen technically through Meetup's platform and on usually then into Zoom. People can watch one of the videos from the video workshop area and then come to a real live in-person-ish meeting through Zoom or sometimes Slack chat. And so I don't think that those are discovered as readily through Learn's platform itself. We can find them inside of any WP Admin dashboard when you see the listing of upcoming events. You can see that they're there. Mm-hmm. Also, I'd really like to see courses kind of happening soon. We've been on this progression for quite a while, and it takes a bit to steer a ship this big.
Right.
But one of the hot topics that we just had a post go up on the training team site is badges that can appear on our WordPress profiles.
Right. I have a few.
Uh-huh. And so badges will be coming for completing courses that have yet to launch on Learn. So I think maybe for me, I want to get there sooner. And I want it to be organized based on how people would approach learning something, that it would be laid out better.
Yeah,
perhaps.
it's tough. It's also tough. I mean, even if you have a course, I'm sure we both know people in the LMS space, people sign up for courses and they buy them all the time, but getting people to complete them and or implement the knowledge is a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually just asked me, was it a day ago, how do I stay up to date running, in technology and running a business?
Right.
It's a struggle in one aspect because, as I mentioned to you, this was in a Slack chat that we had, more often than not, you always hear about people who start companies and they're doing less and less of what they started doing.
Yeah. Because
you become more of a, either you work on strategy, and it should be that way in one aspect, but I feel like I still like to build things sometimes. I get frustrated that I don't.
Right. So with that idea, and kind of ranging back into these badges that are being proposed on our profiles, I guess an area that it doesn't so much irk me, but what I really want to find out is from many different areas inside of WordPress. I published a post that summed up as many user journeys through WordPress as I could think of, ranging from I want to own my own business and handle clients and build websites for clients and maybe hire a couple subcontractors to I want to grow to an enterprise agency scale and I need to hire people that have certain skills. And how do I know what I should be not to be informed by what you should be hiring for, but to have a standardization, right? So in the WordPress space, there are abundant materials. They grow out of date quickly.
Right.
And I'm not talking on Learn itself. Just go to YouTube or Google or anywhere and you'll find materials. They get outdated really quickly. And there's no consensus for a proficiency skill.
There's no
someone that is
right. There's no certification of WordPress.
There's that, yes. So there's no standard, no certification, and the badges are sort of what we could see evolving from that. Matt spoke about them during the State of the Word last year, and the post is basically suggesting that on our .org profiles, we might see an additional tab. If you go to your .org profiles, there are a couple tabs that are there. We might see an additional tab that shows completion of courses. It is not to necessarily say that everybody must go do this thing in order to have any credibility in WordPress. But if you're an employer and you're trying to figure out, I need to hire someone with a certain amount of skills, how can I assess if they've got those skills? Perhaps looking at their .org profile might give you a summary of what things they might have.
Right.
Also, having the input of the community here is really valuable. There are so many ways for WordPress to be used. There are so many job roles inside of WordPress. Some are When I say data entry, I don't mean just like a transcriber data entry. I mean somebody that is writing content and inputting content into WordPress itself, and then it's published to very large scale kind of websites or whatever.
Right.
Their job isn't really developing for it. It's entering the content, writing the stories, what have you. There are so many walks of life and with so many different voices. It's hard to get a consensus. But what really, really matters is having some people show up that say, here's the kind of content that should happen on Learn. Not that they need to make the content, but to be, we would call them in the education space, we say a subject matter expert. So somebody that knows really clearly the thing that they're looking for, even if it's not, so for in your case, Adam, I know you've been working on learning GitHub. You might not be the expert in GitHub, but what you might need to know is, can I find a developer that understands how to do pull requests and things like that? And so having feedback is invaluable, because if we're looking at having some kind of a flow for what people learn and what would be valuable for the WordPress community at large, then having the input of multiple representations inside the WordPress community really means a lot to the team.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see you're definitely passionate about it, about the entire process. And it's, I mean, I've always known this about it. I think we both have that passion of education and sharing and getting it just more widely understood best we can. But there's always those hurdles.
Yeah.
You know, okay. All right, I have one more question, then we'll get to the one little thing here. So the last real question here, not real question, kind of a silly question. Violin, mandolin, what's the difference?
So no one could see that I have them actually beside me. Violin has a bow. Mandolin has twice as many strings usually as the violin, and you pick it like you would a guitar. So you strum chords on a mandolin. Mandolin has frets. Most violins do not.
Interesting.
Although if I'm ever in Adam's neck of the woods, there is an electric violin store really close to Adam's house that I want to go and drool over. I have an electric violin, and it has 3 additional lower strings. And so those lower strings bring me down to the range of a bass.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I could cover the whole range of the orchestra, and it also has frets on it. But the one that is in the store near Adam, probably a lot more money than I'm ready to invest as a hobby.
Right. See, today we learned something new outside of WordPress. That's always the goal. Learn something new no matter what it is every day. All right. All right. I want to be respectful of time here. Lastly, tools. What are the 3 tools? Because people always want to know, what tools do people use to do the day-to-day? 3 tools that you use day-to-day that you kind not live without.
Yeah. ScreenFlow, Snagit. These are screenshot and screencasting tools. And then in addition to that, wow, there's so many different other tools that are out there. My answer changes all the time. I think I'm going to go back actually to just Slack, because I'm using Slack pretty much nonstop with the training team and everybody else.
Makes sense. Yeah. All right. Lastly, how can people follow you and get involved online on the ethers?
Yeah, so you can check out learn.wordpress.org. If you would like to get to all of my socials, you can find me on my website under my maiden name. It's a little hard to get my married name's domain. Courtney Engel, ENGLE.com. And there you can find all the socials and things. You can also check out make.wordpress.org/training as well.
Cool. We'll link to those in the show notes. Thanks so much. It's been a long time coming to have you on the show. We've known each other for a long time. Appreciate it. And it's awesome. And we'll see each other in person one of these days. Maybe just come down to the violin place. Maybe you'll win the lottery, you know.
That would be delightful. Kids' college doesn't matter.
Doesn't
we'll just
matter.
Go get a violin.
Right. Awesome. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, and again, thanks again to Courtney. Like I said, she's amazing. She's cool. We talked more afterwards, and we just have a lot to talk about. Me with my ideas, her with her passion to get more courses made. So pretty cool. Thanks again, Courtney. I really do appreciate having you on the show. Looking forward to seeing you in person one day soon again in the future. So there's that. All right, moving on. Segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, it's actually a sales tool over at termageddon.com. /selling/sales-tools. I'll link in the show notes, of course. The reason that this is cool is Hans and Donata have put together a website's policy waiver. All websites should have and need to have, obviously, terms and conditions, privacy, those things. If you're building sites for people and you don't have that, you need to reach back out and say, hey, either offer it, sign up with Termageddon, or don't, but have them sign off on a waiver so you as a developer are not held liable. Okay, simple as that. And they give us, all of us out there for free, this sales tool. It's a website policies waiver. I'll link to it in the show notes. Check it out. Totally worth it. And it's pretty cool. So there you go. Check that out. All right, wrapping it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead and send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use that SpeakPipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon, link on the website. If you want to sponsor the show, like Marker.io, thanks again for them this week. There's a form on the website there too. Coaching, accountability, side hustle ideas, adamsilver.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.